Hi, Stephen from Wagtail Urban Farm. What I'm going to do today is show you some tips and techniques that I've learned to maximise your gardening space in a small area. If you're living in an apartment or you're renting, maybe you're a little bit older and you don't want to use a lot of space, or you're just beginning and you can't get your head around using a lot of space, these are some techniques that you can utilise to just get much more productivity. What we're doing here is we're making a wall hanging out of succulents so that we can just put it somewhere nice and pretty. We're not taking up space on the ground and we can have a garden in the air. This is a really simple construction. It's just a frame screwed together with a piece of timber on the back. I've used marine ply just because it's going to handle the moisture a little bit better. Bit of chicken wire across the front, and then we'll fill this with soil and then just push our succulents into the top. They'll establish. It'll take probably 2 or 3 months. Once they're established, you can lean it up against a wall, or you can even hang it on a wall, and that way you've got a little bit of greenery, but it's not in the way. So, very simply, a bit of potting mix. You can use any old potting mix when it comes to succulents because they're not a high user of nutrient. It doesn't really matter what you use. What I tend to use is like the potting mix from old pots when I've repotted a plant. You can even mix standard potting mix with a bit of sand. Or if you do want to hang one of these on a wall, you could even mix it potting mix and coir fibre. That's that stuff they make out of coconut shells. The advantage with that is it's much lighter. So if you're going to hang it, you don't have to put really heavy screws in to hold it in place. Once you've got that relatively full, I'm just going to scrape off these large bits that won't go through. So now that that's full, what we do is you can use a pencil if you want. You select the succulent that you want to put in there, make a little hole, push the succulent in place. Succulents are great. They really are the survivors of the plant world. They'll grow in pretty much anything. They just don't like full sun. Often you see an aloe vera plant growing in full sun. You think it's a sun-loving plant, but in fact they like a little bit of shade. Same with these guys. It's really good to put them underneath, a veranda or in an outside area that's, maybe a shade house or under a tree. You can even keep this one inside for, a few weeks at a time. Don't put them too close together because they will fill out. Although if you do have a lot, it's nice to have quite a variety. There you have it. Let that fill out and then give it maybe 2 or 3 months and you've got yourself a beautiful wall hanging that's alive. Sometimes space is a premium and you've got to get a little bit creative with how you use it. So in this case, I've got a toilet and I've put up a screen. I want to make it so it's a little private area. So I've got a feijoa tree here that I'm going to train to take up this space. Instead of hedging it, making it bushier, I'm actually going to encourage the growing tips of the plants to head in the direction that I want, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the tallest branch here, which is probably this one. I'm just going to pull it down to about chest height. The reason being is it's going to throw more growth, and that's going to grow up. Of course, it's always going to grow up. We don't have to worry about that. What we want is for the growth to come out sideways. So I'm going to put this here. It'll still be nice and high. It'll get some of its growth heading up. But what we want to do is capture that end node that we'll be able to train to go right the way across. I'm just going to tie this one here, and then this kind of sets the angle for all the ones underneath it. The reason I've chosen a feijoa is because I really love the fruit and it's evergreen. If I was to put something like a grapevine here, it would make a really good screen, but that would only happen through the summertime. In the wintertime, when it dropped all its leaves, it'd expose this space again. Another good plant that you could use for screening like this would be a passion fruit, but I've got ideas for a passion fruit a bit further over. So here I'm using a product called tree tie. It's sort of an elasticized fabric. You can use anything really, you just don't want to leave it there for a long time. Now, it only has to be there for about 12 months for the plant to set sort of firm. You can even use old stockings. That's actually my preferred fabric. It has a lot of give to it. Once you've got it nice and low, you can tie it off and you're done. So this is a great little space-saving activity that'll take you a little bit of time. You get used to the plant, work out how it grows, you get a lovely, nice, sort of formed finish. The next one that I'm going to show you though is how to grow vertically. So what we've got here is a passion fruit vine. These are climbers, really good for tight spaces. What I've got here is an overhang that I want to have some foliage go up and over. I've just run this rope through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant it in the ground and then just train it to go up. And once it's going across, it can do whatever it wants. But initially, I just want to get it going straight up here. Really simple. What I've done, I've dug a hole, nice big hole. They say if you've got a $10 plant, dig a $20 hole. This one's probably a $50 hole. I've put my fertilizer in, I've put my gypsum in, and I've dug it all the way, it's like a metre square. Really important if you're going to put something like a vine in that has feeder roots close to the surface. Now that that's done, all I'm going to do is very gently tease it out. You can see the plant's roots have just gotten to the edge of the pot, so they're ready to come out. Backfill a little bit. Put the plant in like that. Put more soil around it. Create a little well. Now this plant's got two what we call leaders, right? I only want one. It's going to seem cruel, but I'm just going to take it off right there. The reason being is, again, I'm training it for height. I'm trying to get it nice and tall. So what I want to do is I want to get this length onto the rope. I don't want to break it. I don't want to damage it. What I can do is I can gently wind it around. I can also use its natural little grippers here. So I can spiral them up, they'll help to hold on. Or I can use a little bit of that twine that I had before, just to make sure that it stays upright. Very gently tie that on. Give it a good water and let it grow. So there you have it, just a few ideas. You might be able to use them in your garden, optimize your space. Maybe not. If they don't work for you, do some research, have a look online, ask some friends. There's plenty of ideas out there. One of my favorites, a glass of water on the windowsill with a bit of mint. That'll stay in there for months. Try it.